Hey y'all, Jeff Nowak here, NOLA.com digital sports producer. We are here for a Saints Panthers pregame live chat powered by NOLA.com. I'm going to vamp for a couple moments to let some people get onto the feed. It seems like people are a little slow starting, but they're starting to filter in now. Again, Jeff Nowak, NOLA.com's digital sports producer. You can hit me up on Twitter there. Follow me at Jeff_Nowak. Make sure to check out all of our pregame coverage over on NOLA.com. That's NOLA.com/sports/Saints. If you're looking for that directly, we got all the pregame inactives. We got all the pregame storylines that you're going to want to cover. Any questions, comments you have, make sure to throw them in the comment stream wherever you're watching. I know this is out on YouTube and Facebook, so throw them in there, and I'll try to get to them in the back half of the conversation today, and we'll go from there. But first and foremost, let's start it off. Saints, Panthers, 3:25 p.m. over on Fox. Check your local listings. Should be the national game, but I could be wrong. The obvious subplot today is there are 3 games going on simultaneously that you will want to keep track of. If you are a Saints fan, hopeful that New Orleans can get the 1 seed. You have Saints, Panthers. Saints obviously need to win that game. No surprise there. Then you have Packers, Bears. Saints need the Bears to win that game to have any chance at the 1 seed. The current standings have the Packers 1 game ahead. They are 12-3. The Saints are 11-4. The Packers win that tiebreaker straight up, which is why there is a 3rd game in play here, and that also going on simultaneously, kicks off at about 3:25, is Seahawks at 49ers. The only way for the Saints to get the 1 seed would be for a 3-way tiebreaker between the Seahawks, Saints, and Packers at 12-4, which would actually put the Saints out in front. This has been documented pretty extensively, so you probably already know this, but it's always handy to go through that again. And before I go on any further, again, score predictions, questions, comments, throw them in the chat and I'll try to get to them. But, that's what the Saints are facing today. They need to win a game and hope that 2 other teams help them out. Not unlike last year, although last year they only needed 1 team to get a result and neither did. This year, I think, oddly, the odds are more in their favor. The Seahawks game is actually more interesting to me than I think a lot of people are kind of just chalking that one up as a win for the Seahawks. I don't think it's going to be as simple. I mean, the 49ers went out last week and put a hurting on the Cardinals and won that game. They're still playing hard. They're still going to put up a fight at home. Week 17, they want to go off with a win, go off with good vibes, and that could be a game that ends up spoiling it, even if the Bears come out and get a win today, which, the Saints really lucked out in a way they did not last year with the Bears, because the Bears are currently in control of their destiny for the playoffs. If they win today, they are in. So they're going to go 110 miles an hour and try to get that result. That is not what you saw last year. You had guys like Matt Bowers offering a truck to David Blau, who was the Lions quarterback at that point, if he could win that game. They gave him a test, but they just didn't have enough in the end. And when you're not competing for the playoffs, there's just an edge that you might not have in that big moment. That is not going to be the case with the Bears today. They get the Packers at home, a tough divisional game. The Packers are going to have a hard time there. It's going to be hard for them to match that energy, knowing that they're playing for a week off essentially, and a guaranteed home game in the NFC Championship. The Bears are playing for their playoff lives. They have a game going on with the Cardinals and the Rams. If the Bears lose and the Cardinals win, the Cardinals get in, Bears are out on the couch for the playoffs. So I think the Bears are going to come out and play real hard and see, give the Packers at least a run for whatever they have. And so it's going to be interesting. I have I posted on Twitter my setup. I have 4 screens going as I usually do. It seems successive most weeks. This week it's actually going to be useful. I have the antenna going over here. I have my phone for another one of the games, and I have 3 screens to pick up the other games. So that's what we're looking at from a larger perspective. But we're looking at from a closer perspective. The Saints are heading to Carolina, facing off with former quarterback Teddy Bridgewater, former assistant coach. I'm blanking on his name. Joe Brady, there it is. Former assistant coach Joe Brady, now the offensive coordinator of the Panthers. Matt Rule, first-year head coach. These guys are going to be motivated to go into the offseason with a win. This is not a team that's going to roll over and say, hey, we're going to get a better draft pick. The Panthers are going to come out and fight, and the Saints are undermanned feels like an understatement. Calling them undermanned would mean they have players out at key positions, and they're going to have to see what they have. the Saints have everybody out. The Saints are not resting for this week, but they have no running backs. Their entire running back room was deemed inactive due to coronavirus. Alvin Kamara had a positive test, and the rest of the running back room was deemed a close contact through contact tracing, and they are out. Not unlike what happened to the Broncos when the Saints faced them in Week 12, and they were without a quarterback. Give me 1 second. Let me get a drink here. Sorry if that was gross. And so you're going to see what you have here. The good news for the Saints is they have a lot of positional flexibility, and that's through a combination of prescient roster moves and just multi-positional guys. Ty Montgomery was actually not caught up in the coronavirus issue, in part because he's a wide receiver by trade. He wears 88. So he was out working with the other groups, and he was not caught up in the contact tracing part of this issue. So you actually do have Ty Montgomery, who has been used very sparingly this season after signing with the Saints. Wears 88. He will most likely get the lion's share of the carries today at running back. You also call up Tony Jones from the practice squad. So he's a rookie that we haven't gotten to see yet this season. Normally, you would have seen him in the preseason, which has been the case for a lot of their rookie running backs. That's when they kind of showcase what they have, and you can kind of go back and see, okay, this is what we can expect. You have no idea what to expect with Tony Jones because the preseason this year got canceled. So those games that you would normally have with Tony Jones, you don't have. So it'll be interesting to see what he has. He's kind of a bigger back. He's more of a Latavius Murray type than a Kamara type. He doesn't have burning, blazing speed. I think he ran a 4.6 in the 40. But he does have, really good between the tackle running ability. He's very strong, very powerful. He's going to be able to fall forward. I think he's going to be the Latavius Murray to your Alvin Kamara with Ty Montgomery, if you kind of want to put it into the sense of what you have versus what you're going to see. He's going to be able to get positive gains in most situations, and I think you're going to see him on a lot of early downs. I think you're going to see him get a lot of 2-3 yard gains that kind of set up the offense. He needs to not turn the ball over. That's going to be the key for him today. And you're just going to see what you have because you are also missing weapons at wide receiver. Michael Thomas and Deontay Harris have been on IR for 2 weeks. They should be back by the playoff game, but they are not eligible to come back until at least the wild card matchup. You have Traquan Smith also on IR. He would not be able to come back until the second, the divisional round, whether they play in the wild card round or not. And so you're looking at Emmanuel Sanders. You're looking at guys like Lil Jordan Humphrey. It's just, he's going to have to make it work, as odd as it is. I tweeted this earlier. When I see a roster like this, I almost wonder, part of me wants to think that Sean Payton actually looks forward to this type of game because he gets to kind of unlock the mad scientist part of his brain and see what happens there. And he's going to have to today because it's not only on the offensive side of the ball. You're also without basically your entire safety group. You do not have Marcus Williams, who was out for the second straight week with an ankle injury. You do not have C.J. Gardner-Johnson, C.D. Deuce, who is out for coronavirus as well, as is DJ Swearinger, a backup safety. So you're looking at Malcolm Jenkins, P.J. Williams, maybe Grant Haley. He was elevated from the practice squad. The good news is you have Marshawn Lattimore and Janoris Jenkins there on the opposite sides, but you do not have Patrick Robinson, who is not activated. Trey Hendrickson is active for today, so that is at least one positive thing. But I can't think of a team that would be worse to face without guys who can cover on the back end. In Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore, who got loose for a 7-yard touchdown when the Saints played, as close to at full strength as you could get on the defensive side of the ball. So this, I think you're going to see a lot of pressure. You're going to see a lot of deep shots by the Panthers because the Saints are not going to be able to hold up over the top. They're going to have to get home, and when they don't, they could get in trouble on some deep balls to Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore. But all right, we're about 45 minutes out from kickoff now. I'll start going through some of your questions, some of your comments. We got some whodats in there. I'm also going to pop into our, let's see, can I open this? There it is. I'm going to pop in here. We're going to go through some numbers and such as I go through your questions. Obviously, before we get into that, 3:25 p.m. out in Charlotte, Bank of America Stadium. 5-10, the Panthers. They actually are coming off a win, so there's some positive vibes there. But we'll see what we have from them. It's always interesting to see in these games when you go against a team that is playing for pride in week 17. They already eliminated. They've been eliminated for weeks. All they're playing for is draft positioning at this point. And so what type of effort do you actually get from them? Are they going to come out with energy, or are they going to roll over? I would bet not, just based on the some of the storylines beyond the Saints' pursuit of the 1 seed and the playoffs, but we'll see. One other thing that I forgot to mention, if the Saints win today, they will become the first ever NFC South team to sweep the division, go 6-0 against a division opponent since realignment. And that's pretty significant. You talk about a team that has just won so many games over the last 3 years and just hasn't been able to get through in the playoffs. But in this year, of all years, to pull out that type of performance against the division is really impressive when you consider all the injuries. Drew Brees going down for 4 weeks, not unlike last year. And they just seem to find ways to get it done. I think they're going to get it done again today. As I go through, if you have any predictions in there, I'll try to pull them out. Our expert picks over here, all three, Luke, Rod, and, well, that's not true. Amy has it at 30-27 Saints. She has them winning there. Luke also has it 24-20 Saints winning. Rod is being the Debbie Downer. Rod thinks the Panthers find a way to pull this out against an undermanned Saints squad. So he, if you want to give him the business on Twitter, it's Rod Walker NOLA. He'll be glad to hear from you. I don't think it's going to be close. I actually think the Saints walk away with this one. I don't know why. This just feels like the game the Saints don't lose. Sean Payton doesn't lose this game. He might have, the Saints end up losing kind of weird games in the middle of every season when there's just no edge and they come out flat and there was no real defined thing to play for. And like the Eagles this year, the Falcons last year, and you'll see them lose those games. They do not lose games when there is a, kind of mission in mind, when they have, a target in sight. They just need to win this game and see what happens. They don't lose this game, and I understand they're undermanned. I understand that the Panthers have some weapons that can give them trouble. But I don't think this is going to be a close game. I think the Saints are going to win this game. And we'll see how it goes. I think the defense up front is going to have to stand up. But all right, let's see. Can we see the whole game here? No, this is a live chat. You're going to have to find a TV. If you want to run to Walmart and grab an antenna, that's what I use to stream the games. I say this every week. But all these games are over the air. They're free. TV's free if you have an antenna. And I've never had a problem with it. So that's my recommendation. But no, you have to go somewhere else to find the actual game. Thanks, Kevin. Deborah Feezer, who dat for life? There you go. Thanks, Chemo Slice. Who dat? Let's go. All right, let's keep going down. We got plenty of these. We got West Tennessee in the house. That's fun. Louisville, Kentucky. Man, we're all over the place. Good to see. Appreciate y'all. What need to happen to get the Saints to 1 seed? As I said before, I think this may have come as I was pointing that out. Saints need to win. The simplest way to look at it. Saints need to win. Bears need to win. Seahawks need to win. If all three of those results happen, the Saints would get the 1 seed. If one of those three doesn't happen, doesn't matter which one it is, the Saints cannot get the 1 seed. If the Saints win and the Packers win, the Saints would lose the tiebreaker. If the Saints win, Packers win, Seahawks lose, the Saints would end up a game behind the Packers, and it wouldn't matter. And a game ahead of the Seahawks. If the Saints and Seahawks win and the Packers don't win, the Saints still end up in second. If the Saints lose and the Packers and Seahawks win, the Saints could drop to 3. So that is something to keep in mind. The Saints can drop to 3 if they lose and the Packers and Seahawks win. So that's not something you want to see. But we'll see how it goes. Not getting it in Colorado. Yeah, that's frustrating. Sorry, bud. But Colorado. Who dat from Mobile? Oh, we got a couple. We got Bunky in the house. All right. Let's see. Let's see if we got any questions here. Oh, get out of here. Drew really retiring? Yeah, that was the storyline that came out today. Here's a graphic that I put together for the playoff picture that I'll leave up. That is the story that came out today from Adam Schefter. It's not exactly a surprise that Drew Brees is, leaning toward retiring. He's been taking it game by game for years now. He says that every year. And this just feels like the year that it happens. I mean, whether the injury, the rib injury, drew him a little closer to that point, it's tough to say, but you can understand why a 41-year-old guy, I think he's turning 42 in January, so that's coming up soon, a 41-year-old guy having a significant injury like that, it could impact your quality of life if you took another hit and like really significantly damaged those ribs and damaged those lungs. That's a serious injury that, I think it kind of makes you look around and take stock of some things. And it wouldn't shock me if that played a role. Last year's injury was a significant injury, but it was a torn ligament in his thumb. It wasn't something that you look back on 10 years down the road and say, wow, I'm still feeling that, or at least, not, maybe it is, but not in the sense that you can't move the way you want to. And, you're trying to raise your kids and you can't do the things you want to do. And that's not the case with a rib injury, with a spine injury, with a lung injury like that. And, I wouldn't surprise me at all. This is just me talking. It wouldn't surprise me at all if that plays a role in his decision in the offseason, whatever it is. I could also see him coming back and playing 5 more seasons because he's a robot and he's the most competitive person on the planet. But let's see. I'm not putting that in there. Last regular season. How is Alvin? So, yeah, Alvin Kamara is out. Alvin Kamara is not active today with COVID. One thing to keep in mind is, if the Saints don't find a way to come out and get, so I'm getting distracted by the Giants-Cowboys game over here. If the Saints don't come out and find a way to get that 1 seed, they will be looking at playing wild card weekend. And then you will have to watch and see, the schedule will probably come out tonight or tomorrow for those games, which are always going to be Saturday or Sunday. And if Alvin Kamara is under quarantine, if they play on Saturday, there is no way he will be cleared in time for that game. If they play on Sunday, there is a chance he could be cleared in time for that game. So that's going to be a subplot to watch. If the Saints can't pull out the 1 seed and get that bye week, when do the Saints play? There was a tweet earlier today that pointed out there is no kind of defined set of guidelines for scheduling those games. It's more about ratings. It's more about exposure. It's about putting the biggest games in the biggest slots and that sort of thing. And if that's kind of the calculus they're using, you have to feel confident that the Saints will end up on Sunday. The reason for that is the Saints are a huge ratings draw. There have been 15 games this season, 15 broadcast games, not including Thanksgiving, that have drawn more than 20 million viewers. The Saints were featured in 6 of those broadcasts. So, logic would dictate that if the Saturday matchups aren't going to draw as big of ratings as the Sunday matchups, so you would end up wanting to put the Saints, especially if it's the Bears, which is a game that you've already seen draw more than 20 million viewers in that Sunday prime time, either the 4 p.m. or the nighttime time slot, because that would be your biggest ratings draw. You won't have the Chiefs playing. They're going to be the 1 seed, and they're a big market that will be out of it. If the Cowboys or the Giants end up facing the Bucs in the first round, that's going to be something that you probably look at. But I think you'll probably just put one of those at 4, one of those in the evening bracket, and see what happens there. But I feel pretty confident the Saints will end up on that Sunday. But that's not really what the question was. And let's keep going. Is be okay and ready for the clock? I'm not sure what that question is. We have one prediction from Clayton West, 31-10. I think this is going to be the score. I think this is what I was going to go with for the score prediction. So I'm glad you hit it. I think it's going to be in this range. I think you're going to see Saints score surprisingly efficiently. Drew Brees is going to go out knowing this is probably his last regular season game. Whether he's made that decision or not, he knows it could be. And he's going to put out a performance. And you're going to remember why Drew Brees is Drew Brees and see him running around with Ty Montgomery and Marquez Callaway and Emmanuel Sanders and putting on a show. And I think it's going to be a walkover by the Saints today. Let's see. All you yelling about masks. I'm not really interested in that conversation here. This is about the Saints. Just talked about Breeze, but Clayton, if you have any other questions, throw them at the bottom. There's no way we get the 1. Paul Turner is not confident. Paul with 2 L's. Turner is not confident. There's no way we get the 1. Green Bay will win. Seattle will win. We get the 3. We dropped the game today with no starting backfield. No Alexander and Williams. Alexander? I'm not sure who you're talking about. Oh, Quan Alexander. Yeah, Quan Alexander is also out. He's a different case because he tore his Achilles tendon last week. I didn't include him. I should have. That's a good point. Alex Anzalone will be starting in place of him. But I didn't include him because I was kind of going through the guys who are inactive today, who you expect to get back for the playoff matchup. He's not a guy you expect to get back. He is done for the year. He's a guy you look at, hopefully he can get back in time for the start of next season, because Achilles tears are brutal to come back from, but he is under contract for 2 more seasons. So you should see him him in the Saints uniform eventually, and it'll be interesting to see if he's able to come back. He had a really good start to his Saints career after that trade, so you gotta root for him and see what happens. Let's hope Murray does not test positive for COVID in the next 5 days, and let's hope our wild card is on Sunday. This is a good point, Paul. This is a lot of what I was pointing out. Yeah, the additional testing, they're in contact tracing for a reason. The nightmare scenario is guys start testing positive in the next few days, and this issue where you're trying to figure out who's positive, who's going to be able to play, stretches into wildcard weekend, and you start losing guys for that matchup, and that's the nightmare scenario. I don't think it's as doom and gloom as Paul you seem to think here. I think that there is a realistic chance that the Bears beat the Packers again, because as I pointed out, they are playing for their playoff lives. They control their own destiny, and there's a level of energy attached to that the Packers are going to have to match on the road, and that's not a given that they can do that. You saw when the Saints walked into the Bucs, walked in to face the Bucs. That was my big kind of tipping point as to when I said I thought it was going to be a pretty comfortable Saints win. It was about energy. It was about the Saints knowing that as they walked in there, they had a chance to basically secure the division. And that win ended up being pivotal in them securing the division. And they walked in with a level of energy that the Bucs were unable to match even at home. And when you talk about energy on a football field, there's so much that goes into just every play that when you have that extra bit of drive, it can be the difference between, tipping a pass and intercepting a ball, fighting to the quarterback versus giving him that extra split second to get the ball downfield. And if Mitch Trubisky holds up, if he doesn't turn the ball over and the Bears managed to run the ball effectively against the Packers, you could see a result that you were not expecting here. And again, I think the Seattle matchup is the one to watch. I think the Bears should be favored in that matchup. I think the Seattle one is going to be tough because they are not playing for quite as much, and the 49ers are playing to just embarrass a division opponent and ruin their Sunday night. So we'll see. Let's go. Have not heard him say it though. He hasn't actually said this. This has been reports, and but he's said after every season that he takes it year by year, and he's considered retiring each of the past few years. And I wouldn't be surprised if the way the last few seasons have ended has helped him decide to come back. I didn't believe for a second that he was going to retire after I saw how the game ended against the Rams a few years ago, and he was very quick after the game to say he was coming back. He didn't let that go into the offseason. After last year, he did let it kind of drift into the offseason, but he made that determination pretty early on, and he said, let's give it another shot. And, Sean, whether it was a Freudian slip or whether it was actually, a mistake, he said earlier in the season that this is going to be his last ride. He came out the next day and said, oh, that was a mistake. I didn't, that was just me being stupid. And it was not to take anything from that, but you could very easily kind of look at that and see and draw a line between him knowing that this is probably his last season and accidentally letting that slip out. So I don't think it's unreasonable to think he's going to retire. And where there's smoke, there's usually fire. Let's see. I'm sorry for your loss, Mary, but glad you have you with us, and we'll see if they can get it done for you today. Yeah, Clayton, you've been active in the chat, and I appreciate that. I think when you talk about Coach of the Year, I don't know how Sean didn't win it last year, but same reasons as last year, as this year. In a year where you had to just endure everything and anything that's happened with COVID, with everything else, the fact that the Saints are playing in Week 17 for the 1 seed in the conference. They got through 4 weeks without their Hall of Fame quarterback, and he deserves every bit of consideration for Coach of the Year. But there are a lot of other guys who deserve a really long look. But this might be the year he breaks through. Let's see. We already got to that. Thanks for chiming in, though, Noel or Anita. Win. Saints, we ready? We ready. Let's win. Go Saints. That's it. Thanks, Erica. Just going through, making sure I didn't miss anything. LC. Lake Charles. That's my guess. I can't think of any other LC. But glad to have you, Darius. Hope everything's going on well down there in Lake Charles. I know it's been a rough go since the hurricane. Sugar Land, Texas. Another. We have 2 from Sugar Land, Texas. That's exciting. And Brazoria, Texas. Kansas City, Missouri. Craig, thanks for joining. Paul, back again. We can hope Drew's coming back. You have really long comments, but I do appreciate it because it gives me a good prompt to start talking again. We can hope Drew's coming back. Hate to see the COVID year being his last, but he did sign the NBC contract. They are waiting on him, which is good. So there is that possibility. Yeah. I mean, so that was kind of when they announced the schedule, and you saw all of these great matchups coming to the Superdome. Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Patrick Mahomes. You got a rematch with the 49ers. You got a rematch with the Vikings. You have Teddy Bridgewater coming back home, and most of those games were not seen by fans in live action, and that's really, really just kind of a bummer if this ends up being the last ride. And that was always going to be the case. You knew going in that there was not going to be a big number of fans in the seats for those games. The fact that they were able to find a way to get any in the building at all, you have to be impressed with how the organization has found a way, even if they got fined by the NFL, they also draft pick, all that sort of thing. The fact that they figured out a way to get fans in the building in a safe manner is good, is a positive thing for the organization. But yeah, it's going to be frustrating if this is the last ride, and there was no kind of curtain call. There was no his final playoff game is going to be seen by 3,000 people, maybe 6,000 people live, and I'm sure they'll have a standing ovation, but it won't be that, moment that a career like his deserves as it wraps up. But, we can't control that. We don't control how it goes. And I'm sure he's quite fine with that if that final home game is in the NFC Championship and they play again in 2 weeks after that. Who were the Saints playing in the first round? Do you know yet? If you don't, yeah, Brian. So basically, if the Saints get a bye, they will not play anyone in the wild card round, and then they will end up playing the lowest seeded team remaining because the NFL reseeds the playoffs. So if they get the 1 seed, then they would play it would depend on. Sorry, this game is getting really interesting. They would end up playing any team that upsets a higher seed. Okay, let me start that over. If the Saints get the 1 seed, they would have a bye week in the divisional round, and they would go into the second round and face the lowest remaining team. So, for instance, if the 7 seed upsets the 2, they would play the 7 seed. If the 6 seed upsets the 3, they would play the 6. If the 5 upsets the 4, which would probably be the Bucks versus whoever wins the NFC East, they would play the 5 seed if the 2 and the 3 did not get upset. So it's tough to say right now. If they don't get the 1 seed, they would end up facing the 7, which at this point could be either the Bears or the Cardinals, I believe. I'd have to check again. Well, let's scroll back up here. So, yeah, so it can't be the Cowboys. It could be the Rams. So theoretically, if the Bears win, the Rams lose, and the Cardinals win, the Rams could actually miss because the Cardinals would be beating the Rams. And so you could see any of the Rams, Bears, or Cardinals based on the results today. If the Bears win, it's the Bears. Well, that's not true. If the Bears win and the Rams lose, it's the Rams. It's tough. It's going to be one of the Bears, Rams, or Cardinals, and you're just going to have to wait and see the results. I guess it's going to be the Bears. I think the Bears and the Cardinals both lose, and the Rams get in, and the Rams get to 10-6, and you end up with the Bears and the Saints as the 2 and the 7. Because the Rams and the Cardinals are playing. But who knows? It's tough to say. That's just my guess, but that's what you're looking at right now. How big is the loss of Quan? Oh, it's big. It's big. I mean, the Saints run a lot of sub packages, and that really puts the onus on the 2 linebackers on the field, because the sub package would add a nickel safety or a dime safety, dime corner, whatever you want to call it. And so that means that you are heavily relying on the speed and the sideline to sideline discipline of the 2 linebackers on the field, which to this point has been Quan Alexander and Demario Davis primarily. You lose that when you lose Quan, you lose a lot of speed at that position, and so now you're relying on Alex Anzalone to kind of make that up. And I think that Alex Anzalone is a fine player. He performed pretty well early in the season. I don't think trading for Quan was an indictment on Alex Anzalone. It was more of a product of opportunity, and the Saints just don't run 3 linebackers out there a lot, so there just wasn't as much opportunity for him to play. But it's a big loss. He's a very athletic linebacker. He's a guy who can cover. He's a guy who can tackle. He can get upfield, and that's going to be something you lose. And we'll see how it goes. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, the good thing about today is this game doesn't actually matter in the sense of the Saints are going to be in the playoffs one way or the other. They're not playing for their playoff lives. They are playing to get in the best position possible. Even as the 2 seed, that's not a bad result. And in order to guarantee they get the 2 seed, they have to win today. The result you don't want is dropping to the 3 seed, and then you're in a position where you might have to go to Seattle in the divisional round. If you stick at the 2, you are guaranteed at least 2 home games. Well, that's not true. You're guaranteed at least 1 home game, and if you win, you get a second. If you're the 3, you only get that 1 home game in week 1, and then if the 2 seed wins, then you have to go there. The issue today is not so much about getting the 1 seed. It's the Saints need to win this game to make sure that they are in the best position possible one way or the other. However it happens, and if the Bears help out and the Seahawks help out and allow the Saints to get that bye and get that extra home game, guaranteed NFC Championship at home, they get there, then that's gravy. But first things first, they got to win today. We're talking about the Pelicans now. Chris Rooks likes Zion, but not the team. Just letting you know. I like both. I think they're good. Pelicans are 4-2. Guys, pay attention to the Pelicans. The Pelicans are fun. Pelicans are 4-2 right now. They're tied for the second best record in the NBA. Come on, pay attention. Anyway, thanks, Chris. Okay. I'm not rambling. What are you talking about? Thanks for being here, NOLA. But one way or the other, I appreciate anyone who's here. Again, my name is Jeff Nowak, NOLA.com's digital sports producer. If y'all looking for coverage, anything like that, pregame, we got about 20 minutes till kickoff. Check out NOLA.com. It's NOLA.com/sports/Saints for any pregame coverage. Hit me up on Twitter at Jeff Nowak. Well, I guess I'm rambling, so I'll wrap it up here because this has gone on a little longer than I typically would have it. And I want to get you guys free before the game kicks off. Happy 2021 to Jerry Poor Jr. as well, as he said. And again, Saints, Panthers on Fox, 3:25 p.m. Check your local listings, and we'll see what happens. Thanks a lot for anyone who tuned in, anyone who dropped in a comment, and peace.